All right. Today's babble is going to be about the good old days, somewhere between 1990 and 94, 95. Basically the time before any record labels got involved. And I'm also gonna tell you the secret why Sweden has so many great bands and that explosive scene that happened in the 80s and 90s and still happening actually. I'm gonna tell you what it's all about. Let's go back in time a bit. This is actually a big thing that the Swedish government did in 1974. There was a lot of focus on culture, and culture is a wide area. I know there was a lot of things done for, you know, arts and sports and all of that, but I'm gonna focus on the music part since I lived it, I'm aware of it. The Swedish government in 1974 decided that culture is going to be a very important part of Sweden. And the sort of motto was that culture should not only be available for everybody, but it should be available for everybody to create culture. So not only as a consumer, but everybody, doesn't matter your age, where you live in Sweden, should be able to create culture. So that was a decision in 1974, and it sort of started from there. And let me explain a bit how Sweden is built. I'm sure it's pretty similar to every country, but there's always these differences. And I'm struggling a bit with the terminology also when it comes to like city level and state level and federal level and all of that. I mean, it's not really the same thing in Sweden. Like if you compare in the US, you have the city, county, state, federal, and it's basically like that in Sweden, but those areas are not really that strict in that sense. But Sweden is a relative small country, and that surprises many people that this small country has produced so much high quality bands and artists. Not only like in metal, but I mean rock and pop music and all of that. So it's quite remarkable. Sweden in the 90s, if we look at 90s, the population of Sweden was like 8.5 million people. Now it's around 10 million, I would say. And Trollhättan, being a very small city in all of Sweden, population in the 90s were about 43,000. Now it's up to 60,000. And this small city of Trollhättan, we had about 8 of, I think the best word is to describe a youth center. It's like a municipal owned, run building by the city of Trollhättan. I guess that's the easiest way to explain it. And in this small city of Trollhättan with the population of 43,000 people, we had 8 youth centers divided by different areas in the city where you live. And how basically Crown was divided at that time, Janne, Magnus, and Johan, and our very first guitarist Robert, they was from an area in Trollhättan called Sylte. I was from an area called Kronogården forever. And later on Marcus, who joined a couple of years later, he was from Sandhem. And basically those city areas have their own youth centers, and you basically just hang in your area's youth center because that's where your friends are, because you go to the same school as them. So that's how it was divided. 3 areas for the Crown that we met later on, and formed the Crown of Thorns back then. But the thing was, with this cultural thing that the government was pumping in huge money in, they decided that every youth center should have rehearsal rooms, free equipment. And everyone who were interested should be able to play for free or for just a small amount of money per month or something, but mostly for free. So the rooms were equipped with good stuff, and you just basically talked with the youth center and said, yeah, we would like to try out playing a band, and in most cases they appointed some sort of leader, or not a teacher, but it was basically like a couple of years older person who had played in bands for like a couple of years, who knew a bit more than we did. So they appointed this sort of let's call it leader, and you got to rehearse 2-3 times a week on the evenings. This was always about after school time. Youth centers were all about after school activities. So that's how we and every freaking band in Sweden started. I can guarantee you that. Always a few exceptions, but that's how all the Intunes and all the Gothenburg bands, and I mean, that's how it started. And usually that interest comes when you're very young. We started with the Crown when we were 14, but already I've been playing with other friends, rehearsing, also live actually, ever since I was 12 or 13. So that started out when I was very young, all of us actually. And that's what usually we can read about, all those classic, metal bands that exist today. They started out very, very young, and there's a lot to do with this state-funded youth centers it was basically mandatory for them to have rehearsal spaces for kids, so that they won't end up, walking the streets in the middle of the night creating problems. So they try to capture their interests, and of course, music, rock band, all kind of that stuff is also going to interest young people. I mean, so that's really cool thing. So basically, the government paid you to start a band. That's basically how it is. And this is a very difficult thing to explain for a lot of people outside of Sweden. This thing happens a bit in the neighboring countries, Denmark, Norway and Finland, but not at all on this level. But if I talk to people from Germany or the US or something, they think I'm talking about some utopia thing. It's for them it seems so foreign. And I mean, we have all read the stories about American bands, how they usually start, and it's all about the, rehearsing in the garage and stuff like that. But in Sweden, we don't have any of that. We have the youth centers and the rehearsal spaces to thank a lot. So if we stay on the course for the Crown, that's how we started. Johan, Magnus and Janne and Robert, they were in the same school in the Sylte area, and basically, you know how it is. Metal people, they recognize other metal people, and very early 1990 they hooked up. Some of them went into same classes, but they got to sort of know each other better and connected by music, and they decided to start a band. So they started rehearsing at a youth center at the Sylte area, and free equipment. And what blew my mind was that they had double kick drums there. That was quite cool. So they had drum sets, some Marshall amps, bass amps, and a PA, and that's all you need. They played for a few months before I joined. I got to know Janne, which is quite funny. I got to know him. There is this, what the hell is it called in English? Like this, In Swedish it's called konfirmation. It's basically a very, very strong Nordic tradition that when you're around 14 years old, you go to these sort of Bible classes basically, and you do that for 6 months, one evening per week, and then later on you go through this ceremony, and I'm not sure the exact purpose of it, but the purpose for us was that of course we need to do it because we will get presents, you know. That's how I got my first moped, you know. So that happens when you're 14, 15 years old, and through those Bible classes, it sounds a bit more worse than it is, but that's how I met Janne. And same thing there, you know, 2 long-haired guys, and oh, he must be listening to metal, and that's what he did. And we got to know each other, and there was a friend of mine, same classmate, and he sort of lied to Janne and said, oh, Marco is amazing, he can play every Metallica solo there is. And Janne was like, oh, really? And yeah. And then Janne approached me like, we just started a band, we need a lead guitarist and or a guitarist, and you want to join? I was like, yeah, what the hell, let's do it. So I went to their first rehearsal, and I remember the other guy, guitarist Robert, he asked me, how's that solo in Master of Puppets? I was like, I have no idea. So that's how I got into the Crown, through complete bullshit. So yeah, that's the thing. But going back to the era, that's how we started. We rehearsed maybe twice a week, I think, in the Sylte area. I took my bicycle there 2 times a week, and we played. And I think before I joined, they had been playing for a few months with this, the teacher fellow or whatever, and they basically played Holy Diver and Breaking the Law and stuff like that, you know, to get familiar with the instruments and how things work in a band. And it's quite funny. I mean, Trollhättan is a quite small city, and the guy that was the sort of leader, the teacher that introduced us to the, you know, how to play in a band, his name was Janne Rimmefors. He later ended up in our video for Iron Crown. He was a pure metalhead, and he's the guy in the video, no, striking the anvil there, so check it out. But I joined the band, and we just started to play own material. Magnus was super creative. He wrote shitloads of music. I remember when I joined them, they had maybe 3 songs they were working on, maybe 4. Very primitive stuff, and it was great. It was amazing. And the roles became very clear. I mean, Johan was the vocalist, and I remember hearing the rehearsal tape that I got from Janne when he lured me into the band. Johan sang completely differently. He hadn't really found the growl style at all there, but it was a sort of more attempted Tom Araya thrash or something like that. But Johan found his pipes, and we already from the start we set up quite high goals for how we wanted to sound. I mean, it was basically kind of a what's it called, you know, destructive way forward. We wanted to sound immediately like the Florida death metal bands, and we suffered a lot, you know. We just found it really, really difficult, you know, to play on that level that all the Morbid Angels and D-sides and all of those played, you know. But that was what we wanted, and we just kept on rehearsing and you know, improve. And also very, very early on, thanks to this youth center thing, we got to play live. We actually played live at that youth center where we also rehearsed. It was a very early gig, and it's quite funny. We discussed that, you know, years later, and I don't even think we mic'd up anything. I just think that we put on the drums and the amps on the stage, and PA for Johan's vocals, and we just, I don't know what we played, 5-6 songs or something like that. It was also funny because also from 90 to 93, something like that, when we played live, we didn't have enough songs, so we played some cover songs. So I remember we played D-sides, Lunatic of God's Creation. I remember I chose Edge of Sanity, Decepted by the Cross, and we also played Paradise Lost, As I Die. I know later on, maybe 94, we played Chapel of Ghouls with Morbid Angel once. I remember that. I remember we rehearsed Agent Orange with Sodom. I don't think we never played it live. And I know we messed with some Slayer stuff, of course, but I don't think we played it live. But yeah, that's how we sort of filled the set list with our own songs and added a few covers of it. And to be honest, on those days when we played for, you know, local people, they had no idea what death metal was, so they couldn't hear a difference between a D-side song and a Crown song. Actually, the first show we did, we weren't even called Crown of Thorns. We didn't have a proper band name until years later. We played the first show under the name Forsaken. Then we struggled a bit with band names, and I think Magnus came up with the Crown of Thorns that we had all the way till 98, until we had to change the name due to legal crap. But yeah, so it was for us and for other bands in Sweden, thanks to these youth centers, that we got the opportunity to start playing, because obviously being the kids, you know, we had no money to buy equipment. So luckily all those rehearsal spaces were fully equipped, and we used a lot of those equipment to, you know, the early recordings. And honestly, I didn't own my own guitar head, a proper guitar head, until late 97, when we started preparing for the Hell Is Here album. So everything prior to that was a borrowed gear or whatever the studio had, and I can't even remember how I did live. I know I had some pedals, obviously the metal zone pedal, you know what I mean, and the one that sounds both me and Marcus had that, and I don't know, we just plugged it into whatever amp was available there. So, but let's go back. Our very first recording opportunity, and that was also thanks to the youth centers. This was an initiative from all the youth centers in Trollhättan, 8 of them, I think. Someone there decided it would be really cool to pick out some of the bands that have been playing for a while and ask them to record 1 or 2 songs and create like this compilation CD. And we're talking 92 here, so for us it was like, wow, it was an amazing thing. I mean, you had a band for 2 years and get a chance to be on a CD, so that was absolutely amazing. So that's what they did. We were asked to come to this studio that was also in another youth center in another part of Trollhättan called Lextorp. They had this Tascam 8-track recorder there. We came there, drums were already mic'd up, and I had my Zoom 9002 pedal. I plugged it in. For some reason, none of us can remember, but Robert left the band prior to this recording, so I recorded all the guitars on this recording. He later on joined the band again, but yeah, so this recording was as a 4-piece, and I don't know, maybe we had 2 hours to, you know, complete the songs. We recorded 2 songs. Last Rite is the only time we ever recorded it, and there was another song called Beyond Where Darkness Dwells. That we also recorded again for our debut demo later on. But yeah, we recorded those 2 songs, and we just thought it was absolutely super cool to do it. And quite funny anecdote is that I mean, being death metal in this small city, it wasn't like a common thing here. So I remember when we were sound checking in the studio and Johan was growling, screaming in the microphone. I remember because I was in the control room and the technician was like, "There's some distortion going on here. We need to change the mic or cable or something like that." So that's how new death metal was at that time. But yeah, we recorded those 2 songs, and it was released on this local compilation CD. It has nothing to do with underground death metal and nothing like that. So it was released on a CD, I'm not sure, 1,000 copies or something, and it's called Guldkorn på vägens grå damm. Interesting title, and in English it would be something like Golden Nuggets on the grey dust of the road, or something like that. Creative title. But yeah, and I mean, the youth centers were the central part of every city area, so that was basically the first time we ever even knew about people in other youth centers, and they had bands everywhere, rock bands, rock pop bands. We were the sort of the extreme band on that compilation CD, but it was really interesting to get to know people from outside our own little bubble. And from there on, 4, 5, 6 months later, we wanted to record our debut demo. And we had enough songs. We had 6 songs we wanted to record. And we booked a local studio called Studio-Echo. And I'm not sure how we got in touch with this engineer called Erwin Jenk, but he was absolutely not a metalhead. But I guess he was the sort of engineer you used for that studio. It was also a city government owned facility that had a studio. 16 track Mackie board, and yeah, it was quite a big thing for us at that time. So yeah, the plan was, let's record 6 songs, release a proper demo, because we were so dying to get into the whole scene thing, you know, because I've been reading for a couple of years a lot of, you know, underground magazine science and, you know, tape trading with people around Sweden and around the world. I wanted to, you know, get involved there for real with a demo, you know. And I think I told this before, but my only goal ever with the Crown has been that I wanted our demo to be reviewed in a Swedish magazine called Hyman Magazine. I really love that fanzine, and I really wanted them to review our music. That was my only goal. Obviously things escalated from there, but yeah, that was my first goal ever. Yeah, we recorded the demo one weekend, 6 songs. I remember Erwin, the technician, he was quite cocky. Yeah, let's record around the clock, but there were some complaints there, you know, Saturday 3 a.m. because we recorded around the clock. And but yeah, we got it done, and this is quite interesting. All the demo stuff and also one song from this local compilation CD, they were all later on added as a bonus disc on the Possess 13 album. So there you can find a lot of those demo stuff. And yeah, we got the demo. Someone, Magnus, Janne, Johan, I think, someone, you know, Xeroxed, copied the artwork at school or whatever, and we cut out to fit it to a tape, you know, and yeah, we started spreading the word, you know, sending it out to a lot of fansites, people, musicians we knew in the scene. And one really cool thing that happened was that for some reason a festival, like Sweden's biggest music festival, Hultsfred Festival. They called us in '93 and yeah, they want us to play live on their demo scene. I can't remember, the band can't remember that we ever applied to it or something like that. They just called us. Or basically they called our parents and we still lived at home. So it was like a phone call. Yeah, you want to play at Hultsfred Festival and 2 a.m. on a Saturday or whatever it was. And that was a big thing as well. So I remember we brought up carton of demos and you know, we sold demos, we threw away and gave away, you know, demos to people, and that was really cool. And I know we also did a couple of more shows, very local. If we played in the Gothenburg area, it was definitely not in the Gothenburg city. It was in the outskirts of Gothenburg, but mostly in Trollhättan, I would say. And just a week ago, a very old friend, actually one of those youth center leaders, contacted me. He said that he found a recording from '93 where we played live, and he posted it on YouTube. So I'm gonna share the link in the comments. So check it out. It's quite rough and pretty cool. Yeah, we had played a few shows for the Forever Having Gone demo, and Robert left the band. He wanted to play other styles of music, and obviously we needed a second guitar player. And I was told this just only like a week ago, but I didn't even remember this. But obviously apparently we put an ad in the local record store, you know, the Crown looking for a new guitar player, and Marcus picked that up and was sort of convinced through a friend's friend or something like that yeah, you should apply for it. And we were in desperate need of a proper shredder. I'm not a lead guitarist at all. Pretty terrible stuff I'm doing there all the way to burning, you know, but then Marcus took over, and that's where we found our style in guitar-wise, I would say. But yeah, Marcus contacted someone in the band, and most likely Janne, I think, and yeah, we decided come join us on a rehearsal, and let's meet you. And as I mentioned, Marcus was in a different area in the city, so we barely knew those people. He wasn't involved in that compilation CD at all, so he was a complete new face to us. He went to a different school, and back then he was basically could have been in a different country, you know. So yeah, he came to the rehearsal place, and I was super funny because he picked up his guitar. It was a pink guitar. I was like, what? But I mean, he had the freaking death metal look. I mean, this long black hair, and he pulls out this pink guitar as a Lucky Luke sticker on it. It's like, what the hell is this, you know? But that was something really cool that I always respected with Marcus, because he was always so secure with what he likes and don't like, because we asked him, you know, what bands do you listen to? And he's like, yeah, I like Mr. Big, I like D-Side, I like Poison. And it was like, what? Like this. We were not into the glam thing at all at that time. So that was really cool. So yeah, so we rehearsed, I think the songs to the next demo, Forget the Light, were already done basically, and that's why there's no solos by Marcus on that one. I'm doing some attempts there as well. So yeah, same studio, same Erwin Jenk engineer. We booked a weekend and we recorded Forget the Light. And I think we all agreed that it was much better played, better executed. Production-wise, a bit more noisier, I would say. A bit more, yeah, maybe not chaotic, but pretty good sound, I would say. And 4 good songs, the best ones we had at that time. And for that demo, we seriously wanted to start approaching record labels. I remember I had this sheet. I had written down all these labels that I knew my favorite bands were on. It could be everything from Osmos Records to Black Mark, Earache, I mean, Pulverized Records, all these from different areas of the world that I knew bands had released albums or 7 inches or whatever they have released. We wanted to take the next step. So I remember I wrote down like 30 names and, you know, found out their address, and I just sent out the demo, and yeah, everybody said no, or some of them didn't even reply. But everybody was like, no. I don't know why. Obviously, well, not obviously, but I think, I mean, that time, 94, if you think 94 and we are sort of hungry for a record deal with our death metal, it's not a new thing, because there was a huge explosion started in 1990, I would say. I mean, when we were recording this demo, Entombed was already on Wolverine Blues, you know. I'm not sure what album Morbid Angel was on, Covenant, maybe. And so we were a bit late to the scene. So I guess all the labels had already their new promised death metal bands, you know. So we found it really, really difficult to get signed. We got these rejection letters from all the labels, and I know there was some discussions with a Polish label and a very, very small Swedish label, but it never happened. So we started to discuss we need to record another demo. And at that time, I got a phone call from Black Sun Records from Gothenburg. It was a sub-label to a very well-known record store in Gothenburg called Dolores Records. There had been a mail order for years before that, and also a record label for some punk bands and stuff like that. And so Rolf Norling, he and another guy called Mats, they sort of started this Black Sun Records, and they had a plan to sign the best death metal they could from Sweden, and they would start out the label doing some tribute albums. I'm not sure if you know the Metal Militia tribute to Metallica one, where they gathered a lot of Swedish bands to do their version of a Metallica song, and that's how they got the cash in to invest in new bands. So they signed us, Sacrilege, Ebony Tears came in a bit later, Diabolic, what the hell more? Yeah, they re-released Grotesque EPs and songs and released this album In the Embrace of Evil, with Grotesque, with late great Thomas Lindberg, and that was our introduction to the label thing, and it went on really fast. I remember they called us, and we signed a deal. We hardly knew what we were signing. We were so excited, and 2 months later we were in the studio recording an album. So that's quite cool. But so that's basically our early days journey. There were some shows done, in Sweden, but not in these metal, places well known like Valvet in Gothenburg. We never got to play there, but there were some cool shows. I remember in a neighbor city called Vänersborg, we played a really cool show. The attendance was like 50 people or something, but it was during our Forget the Light demo, and we played actually with Dissection, Decameron, Lord Belial. That was before Dissection, broke big, and that was a really big thing for us. I remember that. But after the album Burning got out, that's another story, and the whole recording of the Burning. There's actually quite a many hours of home recording stuff from that, so I might do a making of The Burning later on. But yeah, that's the early years. I can promise you it's not that different from many bands in Sweden. All of that connection with the youth centers. They did their first live show at the youth centers, and you know, playing on borrowed equipment and all of that. So that's a very strong reason why Sweden has so many great bands, and that youth center culture boost is still happening in Sweden. It's been lately discussed that there are going to be some changes there, and I know that some big names, you know, like Tobias Forger from Ghost, and went out publicly and, you know, trying to explain to the government that what they're trying to kill here is a bad thing, because we have a lot to thank for the cultural government funded boost that started in '74. So I really hope that it continues. And as you might know, I have a son called Matteo. He plays in a band called Sarkator. He's 20 years old. They also started in a variation of this youth-centered thing. It's not in an actual youth center. It's more like this, what we call a music building. But it's the same approach. Borrowed equipment. You have this mentor-teacher thing that's going through the ropes, you know, explaining and being part there if they want when they start to rehearse. And that's how Sarkator started as well. So it's a pretty cool thing. And speaking of this music building in Trollhättan, there is a very well done documentary you can see it on YouTube. I'm gonna post a link there, done by our good friend Kristoffer Tönning. He's been doing a lot of music videos for us, and it's called Drömmen Om Ett Musikhus, a dream of a music building, music house. So that's basically a very long journey where some very strong-willed people in Trollhättan wanted to level up the Trollhättan to a new music building, this sort of cultural building where everybody could rehearse and you know, get together. And so that's a really interesting story as well. So check it out on YouTube. It's a cool one. So I guess that's it. It was quite the babble. I was all over the place, but not that structure. But I hope you found it interesting. And yeah, check out the links. I will add some related stuff there. So all right, take care.